Do you have anyone that motivates you, like an entrepreneur, an author, who's not in the film world, but it actually motivates your filmmaking or your career?
Steve Jobs was a big inspiration. I'm a huge fan of his. I used to watch all of the Apple keynotes growing up, like as a little kid. Whether it's true or not, I grew up thinking that Apple computers were the computers that creators use. I got my great-grandmom, when she was 100 years old, she got me my first Apple computer.
Oh, wow.
Interesting story, when I was in 8th grade and I just got that laptop, I was on a field trip in Washington, D.C., and my lung collapsed while I was on the field trip. It was a spontaneous pneumothorax. Oh. And I ended up being stuck in the hospital in D.C. for 10 days because my lung wouldn't reconnect to my chest cavity, like it wouldn't stay inflated. Oh, so I had to stay there, and they had to do an operation and everything to get it the hole to close and for it to stay inflated. But while I was there, I was very isolated, and my parents would come down. They basically swap off in shifts because we were from Philadelphia. So they would drive down, stay with me for a night, and then my mom would swap with my dad. But I didn't have any friends or any entertainment. This is before, smartphones and things like that. So my parents bought me Final Cut Express, the editing software. And while I was in the hospital, that's where I taught myself how to edit on that laptop that I bought. So,
wow.
And that goes back to Apple and Steve Jobs. And so there's a lot of connection, I guess, to Steve Jobs' mentality of like thinking different and, being a dreamer and being able to accomplish anything that you set your mind to. So he's somebody that I idolize outside of the film world in terms of their creative ambition and their drive and focus. I think there's a lot to take away from, to apply to filmmaking from him.
So you were in the hospital bed?
Yes.
With this computer, was it like on a side desk or one of the things that...
They had one of the tables that came across your lap. And I was working on, it sounds like primitive now, but it was like a video slideshow of my 8th grade class growing up through the years. So I was on the yearbook committee, and I thought it'd be a really cool idea to take those photos off the page, put them in video form, and set it to music with little transitions and stuff between the photos. Something your iPhone can do in 2 seconds now. But back then, it was an actual job that you had to do on your own. So I was doing that, and I was messing around with like special effects on there and stuff. And it really, those 10 days were an amazing opportunity for me to just have time to myself to focus and to learn how to edit. And then from that, really the moment that made me realize the power of film was showing that class slideshow to my class for the first time at graduation and seeing everybody that I grew up with, laughing and crying and having an emotional reaction to something I had made. And that was really the moment that I realized, that my dream as a filmmaker could positively impact people, kind of the emotional power of film.
What music did you put in transitions?
It was all like songs that I guess my generation had grew up with in elementary school. So we had like the Friends theme song. Nice. I think the song was called Graduation. It was big back then.
Oh, by Third Eye Blind?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, that's a great song.
I forget some of the other, and then I was a big gamer, so I had some video game music in there too for my own enjoyment, I guess.
Very cool. And just last question about that, were the nurses and doctors like, okay, Philip, you have to put this away now? Or were they...
They were actually really encouraging, I guess. They took a special liking to me because I was from out of town, so I was kind of special there. I was known as the guy that, was 4 hours away. And actually, one of the nurses there, I wish I remembered his name off the top of my head. I have it written down at home. But he actually would bring in movies for me to watch while I was there. Every shift that he had, he'd bring a couple DVDs over. And they had a DVD player in the room, so I was able to watch some stuff. But he was great.
Very cool. Wow, that's a cool story.
Yeah. Traumatized my dad.
Oh, did it? Oh, well, I mean, just to be, have that happen to a son.
It was scary. That was the second time that it happened too. It was once 6 months before. I was really thin as a teenager, so I was same height that I am now pretty much, but I was like 115 pounds. And they say that when you're tall and skinny, that can sometimes lead to spontaneous lung collapses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying. But interesting how that I mean, you turned that they brought that the laptop and that you're there.
Yeah.
Because it could be just totally terrifying because your mind could be like, oh my gosh, what if I die?
Yeah.
Or, you know, these different
It
things.
definitely, and I'm an anxious person, like I'm sure most artists are.
Yeah, right. We need something to be,
Yeah. So it gave me something to focus on outside of myself.
Oh, that's a great story.